Hey, good morning. This is Nate. Um, just wanted to recap on the, the thing that I've been contemplating about unity and what our Father's trying to do through us to show the world that He really exists. And I'll do a little recap, and then I'll go into the next thing that's been really interesting to me when you really sit back and you think about authority and how much it's really already integrated into our lives, and how rebellious we have been, and I'm speaking of myself in a lot of ways. So to recap, we talked the last time about unity doesn't come easy. It's not something that I think is very natural. It's within us to be rebellious. You can see it in kids, you can see it in teenagers, and then you can see it in us as we get older if we haven't learned the lessons as we grow. Being submissive to authority can be a bad word and a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. I know it was for me for quite a while after coming out of mainstream Christianity, and even the military with bad leaders. There's an innumerable amount of bad leaders out there that just are in it for themselves, or in it for power, or in it for whatever reason, money, and it becomes evident after a while. And I believe that Abba will reveal it to you, and then it's going to be up to you to make a decision. Am I going to continue to follow after this, or am I going to really push to seek the truth? To seek Him with all my heart, soul, and strength. So definitely a bunch of bad leaders out there, but that doesn't mean that there aren't good leaders out there. Yahweh provides good leadership, and He always has, and we'll get into that in a little bit. And then submission is another key word that a lot of people hate, and submission to bad things would be not good. Submission to good things is good. There's nothing wrong with being submissive to our Father, and it's nothing wrong with being submissive to an authority that our Abba gives. Now it's up to us to vet out that good leadership, and then once we find good leadership, stick with it. And then we talked about Yahweh being a God of order, a God of organization. You can see it in everything that's evident in the world. You can see it in the weather. You can see it in the moon, the stars, the sun. Just the cycle of life. All of that, from death to birth to just so many things that our Father has constructed for us to realize that He exists. We can just look around. Then we talked about distractions, and there's plenty of them out there. Nephilim, flat Earth, tsetse, color of the blue, or is it a turquoise color, or well, it's only supposed to be white, da 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 da. And the biggest issue for me at one time was the calendar, and I had some really good friends that kept different calendars, and they were really good about not blabbing to everybody that they kept conjunction, or the sliver, or the full dark moon, or the whole moon, or whatever. But then there's a few that kind of push it, and it's curious, and they all have interesting studies, and a lot of them have studied it to the T. But like I said earlier, you listen to one person that's all conjunction, and theirs sounds really convincing, and then you listen to somebody who's all sliver, and they're it's solid, it's rock solid. Well, everybody else's is rock solid too. And then we have our brother Yehuda that just sticks to the calendar, and Rabbi sticks to the calendar, the Hallel 2 calendar. And I talked about it being wise for a number of reasons. It shows unity in the body if we all kept the Hallel calendar. It shows humility. It shows compassion towards our brothers and sisters. It shows that we don't want to cause confusion. It shows that we want to be submissive to Torah, but not so dogmatic about our own understanding that we're willing to cause division about things that are gray areas. And it's definitely a gray area. No matter which way you go, it's a gray area. Unity is one of those things that our Father is really looking for, I think, in maturity in the body. And if we can't figure that out, we're going to be stumbling around in our seeing through a glass darkly even longer. So many distractions out there. And then I just wanted to reiterate, in matters of gray areas, I think it's good to submit to our brother Judah concerning the Torah. That doesn't mean we go chasing after Talmud, and I don't know anything about Talmud. I know very little about Talmud. I know that I can look in here, and if I don't find it in here, and it's a Jewish teaching, it's probably Talmud, and then I'll refer to my rabbi because he knows a whole lot more about it than I do. So that was a brief recap of the first video. And this morning I wanted to get into leadership and authority. Oh, I know some of you are going, ooh, bad word, bad word. Danger, Will Robinson, danger. And those words had a bad taste in my mouth too for quite a while, especially after leaving, coming out of where I was. Whether it was mainstream Christianity or we got involved with a communal type organization for quite a while, and at first that leadership looked marvelous, but over time we saw that their doctrine was very controlling, and it was a submission not of I want to submit to you because you have the truth. It was a submission of, you've got all my stuff and I got nowhere else to go. But we left there too, even with nothing, because we wanted the truth more than we wanted our, unity. And I think that's a good thing. We want to be unified, but not neglect the truth in that unity. Because there's many who have come out of mainstream Christianity that have quite a bit of truth, but they're not. They're still holding on to their old traditions and their old things that really connected the past of mainstream life to this new life that we're trying to leave. We're trying to leave a kingdom that is not of our king, and come into a new kingdom. And in my opinion, that kingdom looks totally different, especially after you take the time to study out what you really came out of. And I won't get into that here. If you want, you can look at the teaching by Steve Berkson, Rabbi Steve Berkson, called Beware of False Prophets. So and once you get that understanding that, whoa, this kingdom that we came out of is there, then you kind of don't want to stay there. And it's not because you don't want to be unified. It's that you want the whole solid truth. So I think that we should not neglect the truth for the sake of unity. So that being said, I wanted to talk about leadership. All right. So all of us, at one time or another, have to submit to authority, one way or another. You think you don't? All right, let's think about this for a minute. Children, you had to do it when you were a child. Now, whether or not you did, if you didn't learn your lesson, Abba gives us another authority to kind of put in our place. How about teachers? All right. Some of us didn't do well learning from teachers' authority. I know I had trouble with that, especially bad authority. If they were good authority, I listened pretty much. But if they were bad authority, but the thing is, Yahweh gives us bad authority too. Look at King Saul. Yahweh anointed King Saul. David didn't do anything to destroy him. He didn't. He just kept his mouth shut until Abba did what he was going to do with him. And that's the lesson that I've been learning. I've learned. I hope I've learned. And so there's teachers. And okay, maybe you didn't learn that lesson. How about a boss? Submitting to that authority. How about if you join the military like I did, a drill sergeant? And there's good drill sergeants, there's bad drill sergeants. There's good platoon sergeants, there's bad platoon sergeants, yada, yada, yada. And especially in the military, when we're put under authority, we don't have a choice of whether they're good or bad. You can't leave. So then what do? You got to learn to submit. And Paul talks about us being good soldiers in Messiah. You know, the good thing about being a good soldier in Messiah is we have a choice to, if you've got bad authority, just leave that authority and go to find a good one. It says in Deuteronomy chapter 1 verse 13, and this is what got me when we were down in Sukkot, down in Tennessee. A good friend, he's not really a good friend of mine, he's an acquaintance, we're getting to know each other. Jeremiah said to me, he said, you gotta have, and he was, I believe he was ex-military as well, he said, you gotta have authority. It's just no way of really moving forward without good authority. The problem is we have to find good authority. And it says in verse 13, it says, choose wise, understanding, and knowledgeable men from among your tribes, and I will make them heads over you. Okay. That was for Moshe and the nation of Israel. Now, we're not at that time, but we still have a job to do. And we're not doing it. We're not doing it. And big part of that is being unified. Everybody loves to sing, behold how good and how pleasant it is for brothers to dwell together. But nobody's really willing to lay down their life for their brother and submit to good authority that is anointed and appointed of Yahweh. And you should try that. If you have a teacher, you should be testing and vetting that teacher. It's been almost a year that this is the first time that I've really taken the time to really vet out my teacher. Almost a year now. And I've been doing my digging. And I'm pretty sure that Rabbi Berkson, after all my studies and research and everything, he's my teacher. All right? So, it's the first time that I've done my homework. And I'm very thankful. And then let's go to Ephesians chapter 4 and verse 11. And he himself gave some to be apostles, some prophets and evangelists, some pastors and teachers. And I think you could add to that moms, pops, grandpas, grandmas, bosses, so on and so forth. But it wasn't for those things are not given for the edification of the body. We as the body need instruction and encouragement and leadership. So because I got this far into it already, I have to stop the video and I'm going to start a new one. So, shalom, and I'll see you on the next video.